from KUDOS Latte podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Supriya. And today we are going to witness an amazing life journey, which you call Latte podcast. And if you want to know which guest I'm going to introduce with all of you and who is going to create a positive ambience with his life journey, then you have to check out his video first. Here is my guest, Larry. Welcome to the show, and it's been a great privilege and honor for me to host you today.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, and thank you to your audience. I love having conversations with worldwide audiences because at the end of the day, we're all human, and we have to know how to have conversations without confrontation, as well as treat each other humanely, and that's how we deal with all these issues that we're going to be talking about. Uh, the old riddle, one of the old riddles that I like using is when we're talking about how do we mend these fences and how do we get together and how do we resolve a lot of the world's problems is how does one eat an elephant? One
Yeah,
bite at a time.
that's correct. That's correct, Larry. And already I said to my global audience that this show is going to be super amazing, super awesome. So let's start and let's enlighten the world. Who is Larry and what is his life journey? So, Larry, I pass the ball in your court.
Thank you so much. Well, my name is Larry Penton. I know on Facebook or Meta, it's Larry Cougar Penton Sr. That's a joke based on a rock star, John Mellencamp. He used to go by John Cougar Mellencamp. And when he went to his government name, as we call it, he dropped the Cougar. And I thought, I'm going to go ahead and pick up that nickname, and I put it on my Facebook account and I was trying to remove it and I couldn't take it off. And everybody's like, oh, that's your real middle name. I'm like, no, my middle name is Al, Alan. But everybody knows me as either LP, Larry Penton, or Larry Cougar Penton. So I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I was born and raised, right in the heart of the Midwest, the Gateway City, as most people call it. I was born in 1971. I have four siblings. It's myself and an older sister who's 4 years my senior, and then I have three younger siblings. We all have the same father. We don't have the same mom. So I was born in a single parent household. It's me and my mom, and then my aunt, who's also 4 years my senior, in St. Louis, Missouri. We grew up pretty much impoverished and just lived in different parts of the city. And throughout those moves, I met people that are still close to me to this day. I've met childhood friends that are still friends of mine. I'm 53 now, and I got friends that I've been friends with since knee high to a grasshopper. Uh, Being in St. Louis, that's where I was born and raised and educated. After high school, I went to the University of Phoenix, one of their satellite locations. I started to get my bachelor's degree in information systems. But before that, I was a computer nerd. I was a geek, just natural born and had an affinity to technology. So for about 20 years, a little over that, in my early career, I worked as an IT pro. I was self-taught. I would take computers apart, build them from scratch, upgrade them, doing all kind of tech things. I focused more on the hardware side, and I worked for a number of Fortune 100 companies doing tech support. And then at the age of 37, I got into EMS. I met a guy who is still a mentor to me to this day. He's internationally known as as a paramedic instructor. And he taught me everything that I know about EMS. And so even though I was older, because most people get into EMS at a younger age, I got into it at an older age. Um, so in 2007, I got my EMT certification, and then from that point on, I got my paramedic certification and license. And then I joined the fire department in 2019. And so a lot of my experience has been on the EMS side more than the fire side. When I retired in 2020, I retired as a COVID fire medic. So we did a lot of work with COVID patients. A lot of my coworkers were getting COVID. A lot of the people that I worked with uh, had some serious issues. As far as I know, nobody died from it, but it led me to retire because my wife, Mrs. LP, as everybody calls her, she has two autoimmune issues with lung issues specifically. And so I told her, like I told everybody, and you will see that worldwide, a lot of people that are healthcare professionals retired, not just because we were fearful of the virus, but we had either medical issues ourselves, but we had family members that were specifically going to be affected by that. So myself and other healthcare people that I know of retired. And a year later, we started this company called Penton Pending Consulting Solutions LLC. And part of that company is twofold. So I'm the CEO and the instructor because I still had a lot of my certs and licenses. And my wife, she is the president and the CFO. So she deals with a lot of the money stuff and she deals with a lot of the behind the scenes things because she's internationally recognized as a principal project manager. She's getting ready to get her project management professional certification. And she's been dealing with HR and payroll for over 25 years. And so together, we bring a wealth of experience and knowledge because what I do is I teach all the emergency medical training, CPR, stop the bleed. I'm a tactical EMS consultant, active shooter hostile event responses. So I deal a lot with those scenarios and those conversations. Most of the work that I do in the United States is in the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area or DMV, as well as both North and South Carolina. But I travel from the Carolinas all the way to the West Coast of the United States to California. So I cover all 50 states teaching these life-saving emergency medical issues or procedures. And my focus is to help people survive in these real times. So I know we're going to jump into that. The mic is yours.
Wow. Larry, this is really great to see your awesome journey, full of hurdles, but you moved on and on and on, and your accolades, your great things which you are doing for the society and humanity. And with a lot of vigor, strength, perseverance, and hard work, of course, determination and dedication. So it's really a great journey, and I'm sure people who will be watching this video later on or who are watching this show live, they must be saying only one thing, that keep moving on until you accomplish your goal or aim. So
That's right.
hats off to you, Larry, for such an amazing, wonderful, and inspiring life journey. Great
Thank
one. Larry, I am sure that the stage which you are now, it's really great, success. But to attain this success, you must have seen a lot of challenges, must have faced a lot of challenges. Some people call problems, and some people call challenges, hidden opportunities. So in your life, I would love to know any sort of challenges you had gone and how would you overcome those challenges. So it would be a great question for our audience to know.
My first challenge was I was a toddler, so at the age of 2, there is a flesh-eating bacteria that is all around the world. It's called impetigo, and it can be very harmless. In my case, I had the world's worst case of it. So I had a scratch on my nose when I was 2, and it spread rapidly. And despite all of the medical interventions that I was presented with, it destroyed a lot of my nasal passages to the point where I had to get a lot of what they call it plastic surgery, but cosmetic surgery to rebuild my nasal structures. Part of that they had, and this is back in early 70s. So I was born in 71. So this is in 1973 when this happened. We know that technology and medicine has greatly increased and has gotten a lot better, but back then, not so much so. So some of the scarring that it left me with, I still have to this day. So on my left cheek, on my anatomical left side, I have a scar where they took some of the tissue to rebuild my nasal passages. And I have scarring around my lower part of my nasal area. Uh, that put me in a situation, unfortunately, where I had to deal with a lot of bullying growing up because my face didn't look like everybody else's face. You know, if I had the scar on my neck or on my back or my stomach, you know, if my nose looked like everybody else's nose, it wouldn't have those issues. But I had to deal with those things. And so I was very introverted. I was a very shy kid. And I did a lot of things to garner people's favor, you know, to my own detriment, being over friendly and allowing people to misuse me because I'm trying to get friends and I'm trying to be accepted in those different things. So I had to overcome a lot of those issues that I had early on. Part of it was because I was not raised around my half siblings. I was basically raised as a single kid. And so I had to learn how to defend myself. So at 13, I started taking martial arts. I took up Taekwondo for a short period of time. And as I got older, I got into sports. So I lettered in track and wrestling in high school. As I got older, I got married, and my ex-wife and I, we brought 6 children into this world. So we had 5 boys, 1 girl. The second birth, we had twin boys. And so all of the boys are over 21, between 33 and 23. And then we have a 16-year-old daughter who will be 17 on Christmas this year, 2024. So she's our Christmas baby, and her name is Lucy. And so uh, my ex-wife and I, we were married, and we got divorced. We got divorced in 2002. We remarried in 2004, and then we got divorced again in 2013. Well, part of the issues that I've been having with my ex-wife is going back and forth with custody because for the most part, I've had custody of the kids. And in 2019, I let my daughter go back to live with her mom. Uh, and she lived with her mom for 4 years. And so now, due to some extenuating circumstances at their home, I'm in the process of getting Lucy back here because we left St. Louis and relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're in North Carolina now, and I'm in the process of going through family court to get my daughter, who's still a minor, uh, back here with us. As a father, because I was not raised by my biological dad, uh, from a teenager all the way through to when I was 30, I hated him, you know. And the last time I saw him was 9. I was 9 years old, and he ghosted me. They call it ghosting here in the States. So he disappeared. You know, I found out where he was. I went to see him, and he was like, "Hey, I'll be right back in about 20 minutes. Let me go get freshened up," because he was drunk because I have alcoholism in my family. Fortunately for me, I never became an alcoholic or a substance abuser, but part of my issues growing up was dealing with family members that have alcoholism primarily more than drugs. And so that was the last time I saw him. And so because St. Louis is such a small city, I could have seen him more than that, but I chose not to because of that ghosting incident. Well, when I turned 30, I decided to start looking for him, and I missed him by 6 months. So I got a chance to meet my half siblings, my older sister, and my 3 younger siblings. And so we were able to form a relationship with each other. We don't talk as much as we probably should. However, I know where they are, they know I am. And that that changed a lot in me having that experience because as a father, I always said I wanted to be 180 degrees different than the father that I had that brought me into this world. Um, Everything that I know about my biological dad, I know secondhand. And I never wanted my children to be able to say the same thing about me. You can't
Yeah.
tell your life story without talking about me and vice versa. That was what I taught them, again, knee high to a grasshopper. So you're going to be able to tell your story. You got to include me. You're going to have a whole bunch of information. You're going to have stuff that's written down. You're going to have videos. You're going to have me in person giving you these life stories about myself and life in general. And so, despite of a lot of the negative things that we hear about a lot of men that choose not to be around, I did not want to be that stereotypical dad that I happen to have peace be upon his eternal soul forevermore because he died in 2000. And I made peace with that. And so it made me to be a better man, a better father, and a better business person because I took some of those life lessons and I made them applicable to my life. Uh, he didn't know, he didn't get a chance to see me. He didn't get a chance to witness all of my successes that I continue to have. You know, um, in August 19th of 2019, there's an online article to this day that's still available on U.S. News and World Reports. And we know that's an international publication. So I was featured in that article. It's called Diversity Emergency. So if you go to usnews.com, type in my name, Larry Penton, or the name of the article, Diversity Emergency, you're going to see that article. And that article talked about the need for more diversity in emergency medicine. I was handpicked by my medical director, who also was featured in the article, and the guy that got me into EMS, his name is Monroe Yancey with a Y. And so they talked about a lot of statistics, why diversity is needed in emergency medicine. You know, Dr. Spryer, that article to date has spawned 40 plus internationally peer reviewed case studies. And I'm just a poor kid that grew up in the projects of St. Louis, Missouri. To go from that to being internationally recognized as a paramedic, you know, is just something that he'll never know. He'll never get to know that about the son that he brought into this world. He never met his six grandchildren that I have. He never got to meet my ex-wife or my current wife. So there's so many things that he missed out on, but that feeling was mutual because we missed out on it too. However,
Exactly.
life goes on, and like I said earlier, the way we deal with anything that is triggering, and I always tell people, if you're triggered at any point during any podcast or any show that I'm on, please contact 911 here in the States. That number is available toll free 24/7. If you're in the UK, you can call 999, you can call 143. There's other numbers. Find your local emergency response number if you're triggered during any of these conversations that we're having today. So
Yeah.
that's part of how I deal with a lot of those challenges that I have or that I had as I was growing up. Seek help.
Yeah.
No stigmas, no taboos or stereotypes are worth your mental health going down the drain, because I came up with this quote, and I'll pass the mic to you. Mental health crisis is the world's oldest continuous pandemic that's been around since the beginning of mankind, and it's not going anywhere. And we got to face those stigmas and taboos and stereotypes, or otherwise we're going to have more problems and less solutions.
I must say, Larry, that you are really a strong person, because when you told about your health issues and how you fought with it, but one thing I really loved about this, that your ability to move forward and never ever giving up on your dreams, that has made you a wonderful father today. And I really salute to this great father who is so much caring for his children. And it's really great to see this, that you always wanted to give that love which you had not got from your own biological father, and that what has made you a very different father. and a very great father. So that's lovely, and how you fought with your challenges, that was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Larry, this was about your life journey, your challenges, and your upside down and moving on. But let's talk about your work, because I saw your bio. It was full of accolades. You're certified coach for so many great courses. So we all want to know how we can leverage from your great work. So kindly enlighten our global audience about the work which you're doing and the coaching which you're offering.
I am certified through multiple organizations here in the United States. I am an instructor for the American Heart Association, also the American Red Cross, also the American Health and Safety Institute. So I'm not going to give you the whole three-ring binder of certs. I'll just say they are focused on basic life support. They're focused on first aid. That includes CPR for adults, children, and infants. That includes Stop the Bleed. So I'm certified through, again, the Red Cross. I'm certified through the American Health and Safety Institute. And I have two additional certs through the stopthebleed.org and the Stop the Bleed Coalition. All of those are based here in the United States. Stop the Bleed is a huge campaign because the average human being, regardless of what continent you live on, the average human being can bleed out in as little as 3 to 5 minutes. And so you're already behind the eight ball, as we call it, if you need help. Because if somebody has a major bleed because they got shot, they got stabbed, maybe it was a crush injury. Everything does not involve a violent critical incident to have a major hemorrhage. You could be in a car accident. You could be at work and a piece of equipment can cause you to have one of those life-threatening bleeds. You need to have a bleeding control kit. What's in the bleeding control kit? It's basically an advanced first aid kit. So your first aid kits have, bandages and Tylenol and Neosporin and Band-Aids and different things like that. Well, if I got a small boo-boo, yeah, as we call it here in the States, if I got a small cut or scratch or a minor burn or something like that, that's good for one of those first aid kits. But if I have a major bleed where, again, in my arm or any of my limbs, if I have a chest injury that's penetrating or something like that, then I need an individual first aid kit or an IFAC. We call it a bleeding control kit. The difference between that and a boo-boo box is going to be primarily a tourniquet. And we always say tourniquets hurt. They hurt like HE double hockey sticks. They're supposed to hurt. And if you're not levitating out of your chair as they're tightening that tourniquet up, like you're about to, float in the air because you're yelling and screaming because it hurts that bad, well, you're not applying it properly and you're going to bleed out. And so a lot of what I do is focusing not only on those things. I am a tactical emergency casualty care provider. So we focus a lot on safety because it's not a matter of if, but when and where an emergency is going to happen. And what do you do if you get caught up in this situation? If you go to a grocery store or house of worship or an academic institution or a brick and mortar workplace or at a concert venue, uh, an emergency can happen anywhere. And those emergencies include people that end up being hurt, injured, dying, or dead. And so we want people, and I say we, I'm talking about my company, Penson Pending Consulting Solutions LLC. What I want in the people that I network and partner with, we want to teach you how to survive in these real times. What do you do in a situation if you're in a grocery store and you see somebody laid out in aisle 9? Well, that's not the beach, and there are no tanning beds in aisle 9. So there's a reason that somebody's laid out on the floor, or they're spurting out blood like a old faithful water fountain or something equal or worse if they're in cardiac arrest. So we teach you all about how do you deal with those situations. What's the difference between a heart attack and cardiac arrest? Because those two are two different things. And just more information about safety, and especially here in the States, because there's such a prevalence for gun violence. I focus on firearm safety. I don't get into the politics. I just talk about the safety aspect. I'll ask you a question that I asked some of my class. when was the last time you saw a breaking news story about a little bitty kid that died because they got electrocuted because they stuck a fork or a knife or something in an electrical outlet? You don't really hear those stories anymore because once a kid is born, you pretty much baby proof the house. You threaten the kid within an inch of their life. You don't even touch my purse. Don't even look at my wallet. Don't touch anything that's flammable or any dangers and anything like that. Well, swap any of those dangerous matches, lighters, flammables, gas, purse, swap that out with the firearm or the knife or anything that's dangerous. It's the same conversation because we're talking about safety. We're not talking about politics. We're not talking about economics. We're not talking about anything but if you have a driver's license, you got to be a licensed driver and you got to know the rules of the road. Same thing when it comes to any weapon, any firearm, any knife, anything that's a danger. You got to know and be educated on those things. So that's what my company focuses on the medical consultation and the training side. Business, we focus on business consultation. Again, Mrs. LP being a project manager, being a payroll and HR person. We teach a lot of business aspects that she has an expertise in. We have a podcast called Trigger Warning Talk Podcast. All four words. We focus on 5 different topics: human and sex trafficking, domestic violence, sexually based offenses, true crime, and at the end of every episode, we do a missing person case. Because here in the States, you don't hear too much about Black and brown folks that are missing as you do non-Black and brown folks. So we want to bring more media attention to those stories. And again, it's triggering. It's uncensored conversations. We have a bunch of resources in the show notes, and we exchange information. Most of those interviews, they're all audio. You can get them on 14 of your favorite podcast platforms worldwide. And you can also watch them on our YouTube channel, which is our company name, and Spotify. So, and we interview people all over the world. So I'm going to have you on our show soon also in 2025.
Awesome. That will be a great honor for me, Larry, and I will be there for sure. Well,
Absolutely.
this was really great. And here I would love to draw the attention of my global viewers and audience. You can connect with Larry and you can undergo a lot of courses which he's offering. And I am sure you are going to transform yourself into the best ones, not the better, but the best ones. And this transformation begins when you will connect and when you will make your own way. So thank you, Larry, for enlightening the world with your great pious work which you're doing in the field of education, coaching, and this was really, really brilliant to know about your work.
I
And before we move, yeah, Larry, please continue.
I was just going to say thank you for having me. And just in closing, again, seek help. Can't make
Yeah,
it any more plain and simple. If you need help, please seek help. There's no shame, no stigma, no taboo, no stereotype that's worth the quality of
definitely.
your life and your loved ones because you're not by yourself, even if
Yeah.
you feel alone. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Larry, for coming to our show. And it's been a great privilege, once again, I will say, for having you and enlightening my global audience with your so inspiring life journey. And that life journey has given only one message to the world: keep moving on, and doing your duties as your deeds, as your great past deeds, and become the better version of yourself. So, thank you so much, Larry, once again.
Peace and blessings.